Welcome back to Rise of the Kasai. I'm in a bit of a rush to wash the taste of that dragon boss fight out of my mouth. So hopefully this new level is somewhat redemptive. Let's find out.
Rao killed his first Gangoon years before, a high-ranking priest who was attempting to incant the Mark of Kree. Now, a second priest had been taken by his bow, and the Kasai's hatred for Rao had become further inflamed. Which leads us to the next piece in Rao's destiny, Iguahatu. Built at the center of a lake bordered by the three kingdoms, Iguahatu is the capital for banking and trade. At its center resides the corrupt Imperial Banking Commission, and guarded within its walls, a line from the Mark of Omu. The spell is protected by horde ranks, awaiting ships that will transport them east to Hasa, home of the Kasai. Revisit this path and help steal it, Kuzo. Guide them well.
Well, we failed at stealing a mark last time, because it was destroyed in the dragon fight, which we shall not mention any further. But as far as I'm aware, all the new areas are going to be sibling levels, whereas the old areas like Taparoku will probably be inhabited by Grizz and Baomusu. Like I said, we'll be playing as a lot more Tati going forth, so let's get to it.
As we approached Iguahatu, Rao and Tati adjusted their packs so they could be silent. Tati had brought puffer mushrooms with her, deadly fungi that killed when triggered, perfect for traps. She had also been developing a new skill that caused Rao and I much distress. The mark on her back was empowering her with strange abilities, bribing her with subtle tastes of what it and its kind could offer. She could now fog the minds of those around her, seeming to disappear. But as Rao and I watched Tati slowly master this new skill, we wondered what cost would come from tasting the dark magic. The mark was evil, as was all that came from it.
Well, as I pointed out, we did have the invisibility power all along. It's nothing new. But maybe we'll be able to make more use of it here. Might be part of the gimmick of the level. First, let's take a look at Rao's new costume. Oh boy. It's called the Tiki costume. In Polynesian lore, Tiki is the first man, created by their god of war. Doesn't seem to bear any relevance to anything, but it's kinda cool. And fully ridiculous. Oh, we've got our axe as well. Axe equivalent, that is to say. Never gonna work. Oh, here's a infuriating thing. Now that I have the hints back on, every so often, that focus and attack hint is going to just pop up. Completely unnecessary, so hints have gotta go. I'll just have to check them occasionally, make sure I'm not missing anything important. Pretty good kill animation there. Unfortunately, the blade does sort of teleport out of the enemies during most uses of that animation. So that's a ridiculously easy fight. Rao should have his axe as well. Can't quite tell. Yep, there it is. We're already a bit more action-oriented thus far. That's pretty cool. The first game maybe over-relied on stealth. The stealth elements were not strong enough to build a game around, unfortunately. They were solid, but not quite worthy of 6 hours. There's seemingly no purpose for this perch whatsoever. Yeah, it doesn't seem like stealth is even an option. I believe most of our fights are just going to be enemies piling out of doors. Like this boat should offload a group of enemies that are quite unavoidable. While we're waiting, we'll throw this switch. Hell, I could probably avoid him right now. But I won't. So the enemies are definitely going to stay white and pale for the rest of the game, it looks like. It's a bizarre choice that I can't make heads or tails of here. But I guess as long as enemies don't stay on screen for too long, it's not that big of a deal. In general, colors are one of the major mistakes they made in this game. Color palette in general is very muted. A lot of pales, browns. Sort of stuff that would become endemic of all video games these days. That, of course, is one of the things the original game nailed, being very colorful and beautiful in that way. I've also noticed that this game is not very angular. A lot of things are very smooth, very complete, you might say. In the original game, everywhere we went, walls were shattered. We would face very sharply angled cliffs. That's always a good time. I'm never going to complain about the kill animations. But in general, the environments have been sanded down. Clearly shows much, much less effort put into every square inch of the game. Now, obviously, you can't blame a game for, you know, taking every millimeter of every texture and putting a little bit of thought into it. But you can certainly credit a game for having done it in the past, the way Mark of Cree did. I wonder if there's anything... Yeah, we were probably supposed to split up here. It's not too late. But, you know. I'm already breaking the rules. They did finally put some fanfare into the acquisition of new weapons. Oh, here come the enemies. Firing at us. That's all Rao, though. I found it kind of strange that weapons would just appear in our inventory thus far, though. I mean, if they could just do that, why didn't we start out with all the weapons? It's a question that I'm never going to get an answer to. We've got our Kamiyari. I would have looked up the name of our axe equivalent had I expected it to show up in this level. It seems like if we interrupt the hornblowers anytime during their horn-blowing animation, it will not summon reinforcements. That has been the case thus far. Which is a major, major change from the original game. In the original game, as soon as that hornblower was irritated in the slightest, reinforcements ahoy. I consider that an improvement overall. It means it's, you know, a little more fair when there are hornblowers around. In the first game, no leniency whatsoever. It was pretty harsh. I'm gonna try out one of these buffers. Why not? They seem to be very different from Rao's weapons. It's just sort of sitting there on the ground. Oh. And it's just gonna kill guys for us. Yeah, blast them clean to death. That was rather cool. Oh man. Tati's axe is pretty brutal. I've had to use Rao's axe in the arenas, and it sort of feels like all of the enemies are the equivalent of the zombies from Mark of Kree, which is to say, very, very hard to chop apart, which makes the axe a lot less satisfying. But those couple of guys just fell to pieces. There's no clear indication of which way we're supposed to go and which way Rao's going to take. Hasn't mattered thus far. There's a clear example of hornblowers going down much easier than in the first game. I feel like I should go get that prize. Oh wait, Tati's health is full anyway, so that doesn't matter. All I really need to do is stop walking in a loop. Tough guy. I've been sort of critical of this game's attitude towards violence, because it is very, very different from the original game. In the original game, the story elements, all the hand-drawn cutscenes and such, those depict no deaths whatsoever. Exactly one of them has a dead body, and that dead body was clearly killed by bandits and not Rao. Has implications of murder, no question about that, but absolutely no on-screen depictions of death. Then you get into the actual game, Rao's ripping people to pieces, and it's great. But it's this wonderful dichotomy that it sets up, and it's very unique. This game, the introductory cutscene had Rao chopping bodies in half, left and right. So, yeah, very different attitude, but I sort of blamed it on trying to emulate God of War. There's a little of that, no question. But, there is some integrity to it. It maintains the integrity of the original game, which is using the violence of the kill animations as a form of character development. We learn a lot about Tati through the way that she kills people, which is good because she's a silent protagonist and the only way she interacts with the world is by killing people. There is the first and so far only animation in this game that I really dislike. That was all part of the kill, including Tati getting grabbed from behind and grappled with by that dude. Which is, for one thing, ridiculously overlong. No kill animation needs to be that long. And for another poor depiction of Tati having to be, victimized in order to do something cool. It's lame all around. I don't like it. The aftermath is pretty cool where she chops the guy's arm off, but not worth it. I don't know what in the hell Rao is doing right now. Yeah, he just wasted all of his arrows shooting them into the sea. Oh, here's the reason. Arriving 5 minutes too late. When I replayed the Dragon Boss fight in order to get the challenge, I ended up using Tati, and that fight is much, much easier as Tati. Rao just sort of automatically hits the dragon every time the dragon stops. And as a result, you don't have to do all the near impossible sniping of the dragon. In fact, Rao can just sort of stand anywhere in the arena and he'll automatically hit the dragon. He can fire through walls. It's incredible. He's a magic man. Okay, that was just Rao's big ol' head. No, it wasn't. Easy mistake to make, though. There's no reason to kill these people, but I'm gonna do it anyway. It's actually a lot of fun. There are any number of complaints you can have about this game, but it's fun. Ultimately, that's what matters.
We had to make our way to the city's financial district and the heart of Iguahatu. There in a vault, guarded night and day, was one of the ancient spells. Iguahatu's vaults were considered by many to be the safest place to hoard your treasure. But then, they hadn't counted on my companions and the skills of Arrakos.
I absolutely do not understand why we're still trying to steal spells. That was absolutely my single favorite thing about the original game. The storyline is very, very generic for a video game on its surface. Any other video game would have had you start out with Tati getting kidnapped, then you go and grab the pieces of the Mark of Kree, and there you go, it's a collectathon. And in the end, you save your sister, because it's a video game. That's not at all what the Mark of Kree did, because it's more of a folktale than a video game. This game, however, is a video game. Which, again, is fine. It's a neutral, whereas in the original game, most things were a positive. So it evens out in the end, but, you know, it's always hard to look at a sequel to a game that was phenomenal and see it be merely mediocre, as most sequels are. Nonetheless, glad I'm doing the LP and glad I'm finally playing it. Get the rest of the story that was promised to me at the end of the first game. The very end of the credits did insist that there would be more Adventures of Rao. Quite exciting that they actually, you know, delivered on that promise. Or someone did, for that matter. Would have been nice if they, you know, had intended to, you know, have this brilliant new chapter of the story. But instead, they just had more fun adventures with the cool characters they had established. So far, that's enough. Maybe it'll get a lot better in the near future. Or maybe there will be more atrocious boss fights that I can barely stand. Certainly got my fingers crossed that that is not the case, though. I can see it perched there, but I can't get a clean shot at it. Pretty sure I'm backtracking right now. May have been mistaken, though. I think that our puffers can probably kill armored enemies, so that's something worth trying out. Frankly, I can't find a ton of use for the puffers yet. This is actually kind of a complicated stealth area, it looks like. So yeah, I don't know if they had some brilliant idea that necessitated a sequel in mind when they finished the first game, and that's why they sequel baited so hard. But they did subtly imply that Tati would be involved. The very last image of the game before the credits depicts Rao in silhouette with Kuzo looking over him, and a skinny feminine form right next to him, which was almost certainly adult Tati. Don't know what that was. Just a matter of time before I got spotted, because I'm just screwing around. Haven't seen Rao in like 2 minutes. I don't know what's going on. Let's see if I can take this guy out. You can hear the success circle nearby. This guy's a horrible shot, as most of the enemies have been. I feel like that was way too far. Ooh. Direct hit. Doesn't seem to have done anything, though. Yeah, he got all exploded, but nothing happened. So let's actually pay some attention and figure out what I should do here. That's probably not it. Weird that they started us out at full health, and then in between loading screens, brought us back down to base health. There's a thing for Kuzo to help us out with, but Kuzo's not here. I think this is another switch up ahead. I'm just gonna plow headlong. Oh, you shut up. Oh. You're bad news. Not in time. I haven't seen any of Tati's combos with the axe yet. Except for the basic one. This guy's not gonna survive a combo. Ah, suffers from the same thing as many of Rao's combos, which is that it knocks the enemy out of the way. But again, it clearly depicts that she can't quite rely on her arm strength to do those full revolutions the way Rao does. She has to put her whole body into it and make it sort of a dance. Which is cool to see. I mean, it's different. What we're doing right now is identical to what we did at the end of Ngari. Looking for the switches. What in the world is Rao doing right now? Doesn't matter. I'm gonna call it a video for now. See you next time for more of this strange switch hunt that we've got ourselves into.